Hi, everybody. Craig Shacklett, CEO of URComped here, and I've got another special edition. This is a post-Global Table Games Conference edition with the host whisperer, Nick Ippolito. Nick, how are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hi, Craig.
Hey, it's always good to be in the Tangiers with you. Yes, we're at the
and every time we do this, you say it's a special edition.
Hey, every time we talk, it's special.
You better believe it.
And we've got a special topic today. It's relevant because we just got back from that Richard Marcus's great conference he puts on.
Yeah, the Global Gaming,
Yep, Global Gaming Conference. It was actually sponsored by the Strat, which is a new URComp partner. So shout out to the Strat.
There you go.
But Nick, you were up there. You had a great panel. And part of what you were talking about was just kind of things that, worked in the old school or timeless things that work, and how we're losing some of those things today. And one of the things you hit on was table games. Like, talk to me about that. How have we abandoned table games from a player development perspective?
Yeah, and you had a great discussion as well, great panel as well for you up there. That was great. Yeah, there was a lot of discussion. I had the two. I moderated the one, and I had my own with Henry and Anthony. And it just made me think about, it is a big discussion. It's a hot button right now, right? It's a hot topic, especially with iGaming coming along, right? And the dealers and the fate of live tables and the fate of, paying dealers that payroll, and should they be replaced with electronic table games, and is iGaming gonna, take over? And we talk a lot about, my thing has been customer service, get the dealers happy, motivate the dealers, incentivize the dealers, let's get that customer service level up. We talk about iGaming has no experience, right? There's no touching of the cards or touching of the chips, which I disagree with. Young kids, my son doesn't remember walking around Blockbuster, right? Therefore, he still streams all his movies, right? Because he doesn't. So if they've never touched the cards and they've never touched the chips, there's no missing that experience, right? So, but the other day I was at I teach in my PD training. I have a lot of table games training and techniques and discussions, and I was with an operator and the manager of the table games, the gal who manages the table games. And, and all of a sudden I realized, Craig, we deserted, we abandoned table games, PD and marketing. I think that we did that, in the late 90s, I guess, or early 90s rather. That slot machine turn, that big push for the slot machine, and the cards came online and the ratings. And listen, there's no better investment than a slot machine, right? We all know that. You'll never make as much money on a slot machine as you will on a blackjack table. I get it. Theo's lower on the table games because it's a quick loss, right? Quick loss, and then there's no Theo. But I think we pulled away from table games. I don't think marketing does enough promotions, does enough table games promotions. Think about all the promotions you've seen in your travels, let alone my travels, for boats and ATVs and gas cards, and you win all this stuff by points. You win all this stuff by playing slots, and it's always slot players that go, and that's very attractive to slot players. The tier system is very attractive for slot players. Table games players, not so much, right? For them, it's not about being rated or, so that's the first step. I think we walked away from promoting and promotions of table games and celebrating table games and marketing. And we walked away from we give a lot of players free play. And I've seen in my travels, we give a lot of table players free play, free slot play. And I'm a predominant table game player. That makes no sense to me. We do match play, but match play is kind of crap. I think promo chips or a free bet is the way to go. And not a lot of the casinos are doing free bets or promo chips. A lot of states say we don't allow it, promo chips. Maybe we got to fight for that. And the biggest thing, is ratings. That's the biggest thing is the payroll and the ratings. I don't think we have enough people watching the table games. I don't think we have enough people rating the players. I don't think they're rating the players correctly. Mm-hmm. I hate to go down a rabbit hole, but I know what goes on behind that, behind that table, and I know what goes on between the guy sitting down and playing to his rating showing up in the computer. And there's a lot of gray area, let's call it gray area, right? But why don't we incentivize the pit more? Why don't we bonus? And look, I do incentive programs for hosts, right? That's another hot button right now. I'm building so many incentive programs for player development and casino hosts. Why don't we incentivize table games guys to stay longer, don't go early out? And why don't we incentivize them for putting in the right ratings and putting in the proper ratings and really get involved in this? Again, there's no discussion, there's no plans, there's no talk about it. We just walked away from it. We just kind of threw our hands in the air with table games. And I think it's sad.
Yeah, it's tougher because with slot machines, most casinos will say, hey, $5 in, you get a point. And the points get you here. It's a very transparent path to earn rewards, earn that next tier level. And then it's table games, like based on average bet and hold percentage. It's they make it a black box. And I think you're right. It could be if it's average bet and time at the table, like something transparent where the table game players know, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get that.
Right.
Yeah, because slots, again, it makes it very easy, very transparent. At any time, you can see your point total and how many more you can get. Whereas tables,
you go to the booth and you go to the rewards club and you get that little thing. It tells you all the tiers and how much points, and like you just said, $1 equals 5 points, or $100 10 points. Whatever they have, they're all a little different. They all vary a little. And I mean, don't get me wrong. There has been a few out there. I've seen table games involved in their points. Santa Ana Star in New Mexico, Ryan does a good job of really holding on and promoting his table game players and giving them the points and stuff. But you're right, it's still kind of a gray area because there's not only hold percentage, but there's the quick loss and there's the average bet, and then there's your rating getting in or not, and things like that. And the other thing is ratings, right? I mean, look how easy it is to put a card in a machine and your ratings right there, right? So yeah, and I don't know that explaining, again, the table player is completely different than a slot player. So if we do get back into this and we do get into marketing and we do get into promoting table games and we do want to talk to the table player, that director of marketing out there, they can't just look at the same way they look at, can't just be ADW, ADT, blah, 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 and here's what we're sending them, right? Then when we do match play or we do promo chips or we do free bets, I see this all the time in computers. The guy's average bet is $325. His average bet's $350. We sent him $25.
Mm-hmm.
That's laughable. That's embarrassing. So even explaining to a table player, you so many points you get. At the end of the day, they're in the game. Slots is mindless, right? That's why slot players play slots, and that's why blackjack players don't play slots. When they walk by a slot machine, it's no different than you watching your kid play an Xbox. Mm-hmm. Same thing. They think it's ridiculous, right? You're playing against a computer. They want to have their mind in the game, their decision making. So they don't have time to worry about points and then, all right. There's been, the free ace program. We've done that over the years where we send everybody an ace in the mail. So when they come in, they're halfway to blackjack. We've done that before. I don't know what the whole percentage is. I don't know if that, how that pans out. We've had a barrel behind. I mean, I think at the Plaza, we had a barrel inside the pit. So every blackjack or every hand or whatever, you got a ticket, just like you got. So here's what we have to do. We have to forget points. And you just said it perfectly. Speak the language of the table game guy, right? So forget points in table games, but maybe every blackjack, every king, every hand, every suite, every, whatever, you get a ticket in the barrel, and the barrel's behind the table games. And it's okay to keep it separate. That's okay. Well, so there's been ideas out there, but the ratings is the big thing, Craig. The ratings is what is going to kill the table games because there's not enough guys watching the games. They don't care about the ratings. They don't care to put them in right. If they like you, you're going to get a way better rating than if they don't like you or they don't know you. There's a lot of, I'm going to call it gray area. I don't want to call it, deceit or anything word like that, but I'll call it a lot of gray area in that rating area.
Yeah. Well, when we were starting URComped, this is something maybe we should get back to. We talked to our players, we put out content like, hey, before you get up, ask the dealer, ask the pit boss, how did they have you rated? Because a lot of times, someone's
Yeah.
pressing their bet. I know it can be annoying. Like maybe table games don't.
Yeah,
want
and I
that
got to be
bit.
honest with you. I'm
But
going to stop
real
you.
quick, because a lot of times players are playing 25 a hand, 50 a hand, but then they get on a roll, they push it to 250, 300. If the pit boss didn't see it, their ratings are $50 a hand. So sometimes before you get up, you have to mention like, hey, did you see my like 10 hands in a row?
Yeah. But I got to tell you, Craig,
their comps.
But I got to be honest, I've stopped that over the years because a lot of hosts have told me that over the years. It wasn't from you, but a lot of hosts told me that over the years. And again, if you know a table player, there ain't a table player in the world that's going to lose $5,000 or $1,000 or 300 and stop to go, excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Did you rate me? Did you get, it doesn't exist. He just lost 300. He's going to move to another table really quick. That's the game. So you have to know the table game guy. You have to know that game. And so I do go over things with the host that are other things we can do besides, telling the player. I think it's up to the host. I think it's up to the host and the table games guy, surveillance. We need to get more involved in this. So I know that I've heard that, and I know who told you that. I know the guy from Atlantic City who started training years ago. Tell the player to check his rating. He was either from Atlantic City or Reno. But that means you don't understand the table games guy. He's in the game he plays here, right? The slot player plays from here, I call it, right? They play from the heart.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say it's for everybody, but it is. I mean, I guess URComped players are obviously in the name more attuned to their comps. So we put out a comp guide.
I salute you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, how to maximize your comps. And that's the way to do it, because you go from a $40 to a $50 average bet on that rating. That's a 25% increase, which translates to your comps. So every little bit counts, but you're right. If you're looking at it from the casino side, it's not you don't want to train your players to do that where every single person that's getting up say, hey, did you rate me the right way? It's not feasible.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So I don't know how you incentivize the table games players to get table games dealers to give an accurate rating and make
not
sure
the dealers, not the dealers, the pit bosses, the chip. Yeah. I don't know either. I just thought of it a few weeks ago. So I want to explore it with some table games guys out there, some managers. It's worth a shot, it's worth a shot.
And what
There's
do you
a
think
lot of early outs now. There's a lot of, they don't even want to be there. They leave. They're watching 7 games. In my day, they watched 2 games the most. They used to put the skill in. If you were a better player than I was, they used to put that skill in. We're going to get a ton of comments from Michael Chapman and Richard Marcus and everybody, which is good. Benny. I hope Benny sees this, and I hope we can just, as always, with you and I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm saying I want to hear the conversations.
What do you think would be the reward? What's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for casinos that are like, they hear this, they're like, you know what? I want to refocus our energies on table players. What do you think could be the results?
I think the low hanging fruit. I think we're not, let's start with the low hanging fruit, right? We're missing a lot of players. We're missing the boat. So to me, that's no different than you have an inactive slot list, 3 years inactive, and nobody's touched it. Nobody's called it, right? We're missing that low-hanging fruit. We're missing a little bit more of the drop. And the Theo's low, but table games, guys, it's all cash, right? They're fast loss, right? So we're definitely missing revenue. We're absolutely. And not only that, we're missing the branding. So all it's going to take is for one property to do this better, and everybody and all the table players are going to run there, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it's going to be a waterfall effect. It's going to be a spiral. One does it, the next one does, next one does. I've been to properties already that their table games is very quiet, very quiet. So I think that we're going to. The bottom line is revenue, low hanging fruit, roulette. And blackjack players, especially roulette players, that's a great hold percentage. Maybe we only have roulette tables someday. You know what I mean? Like, that's a great player. That's supposed to be a great Theo. And then the other thing is, again, our future. These brick and mortar, these land-based casinos are going to lose a ton of business to iGaming, and then they're going to be walking around going, "What happened? What happened? What'd we do?" So I think just for those two things alone. Pick up some extra revenue. Who doesn't like a little extra revenue? And also, and then the dealers make more money. The dealers make more tips. You know, things like that happen, right? And then the future, to, you know, that's the hot button right now. Is I'm just trying to think in my mind when I'm asked all the time, how do we protect the future of table games? Well, here's another Nick Ippolitoism, right, for protecting the table games future.
Well, Nick, where can people find the Host Whisperer coming up? You got any conferences, or where are you going to be?
First of all, I got a lot. You know, I have too much coming up, and I'm pretty sure I'm at OIGA this year in Oklahoma. I just left Oklahoma, but I'm back in OIGA, Oklahoma. Castle Hill Gaming is going to have me again in June. Speaking of conferences, I don't want to give away too much, but very exciting news for nickippolito.com coming up here in the future. And hopefully 2024, but definitely in 2025. Some big news.
Ooh, all right. Well, stay tuned, because I hope you'll do us the honor of making the announcement on the Tangiers.
There you go. You got it.
All right. Well, Nick, the Host Whisperer, thank you so much, and look forward to doing this again soon.
You too. And it was great seeing you at the Global Gaming Conference. Met your beautiful wife. And it was great having finally, instead of these chats, to shake your hand and give you a hug. That was great.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks so much, Nick, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, buddy.